All right. Shalom. Let's start off by saying Barak Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham qadash. All right. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is called The Bitterness. And pretty much what you're looking at is a picture of a Jake. And this is off of YouTube. So I know that this is acting, that he's doing. But this is the closest picture I can find to encapsulate the idea of bitterness, because this is the look of bitterness. It's the look of, you've had it, you fed up. You don't want to do whatever it is that you're doing anymore. And, this is what happens, being in this truth at times. And, it's a scary thing. And we do have to speak about it because these are things that are written in the scriptures. Just like you have the different, the parable of the sower with the different seeds that fell, in different scenarios. So we have to speak up, on these issues. And, I wanted to do this lesson earlier, but Spirit really wasn't on me, so I went out and did what I had to do, had a few things I had to take care of. And by the time I finished, came back, sipping a little yayan. So please forgive me if my words slur a little bit. But, you have to do that sometimes. But with all that being said, this topic is very serious because, this is what happens at times. This is why, like King David would pray, that the Lord don't take his Holy Spirit from him, and many other different prayers, like the scriptures speak about, continual in prayer, so on and so forth, because you could come to a point where this truth can be hard. It can be very hard, and only way to deal with it is through prayer, supplications to Yahawashi and hoping that the Lord will have mercy on us, So with that being said, I have a term here or definition for the word bitter. And the word bitter, I don't really want to go with the first definition. I want to go with the second one. It says bitter of people or their feelings or behavior. Angry, hurt, or resentful because one's bad experience or sense of unjust treatment. And and pretty much, sometimes brothers in the truth, they feel that, that they got a bad deal, but it's not that. It's just that the truth is a very bitter pill to swallow, and sometimes it's hard to deal with. And this is why, you have to, take account of what is involved when you're dealing with this truth, and you have to understand and know that there is going to be bitterness, there is going to be sorrow, there's going to be a lot of times when you feel down and out, depressed, and we've all gone through it, so we're not speaking and saying things to you that we haven't experienced. When we do these lessons, we try to do lessons on points and experiences that we've had, and have, because it makes for a better lesson, because it helps build brothers up, in their situations, sisters also that may be going through certain situations, but this is pretty much where it's at in bitterness, so it says of people or things, feeling or behavior, of people or their feelings or behaviors, angry, hurt, or resentful because of one's bad experience or sense of unjust treatment. And it doesn't necessarily have to be unjust treatment. It just has to be a situation that you find yourself in the truth, of course, that sometimes can seem hard, because remember, we're soldiers, we're spiritual soldiers in this battle of the truth, so scriptures say, to endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahawashi, so it's going to get rough, it's going to get tough, but this is where, as they say, the rubber meets the pavement. And when, if you look at when in a hot day, and you're driving your car and that rubber is on that hot ass pavement, that it's going to get hot, and eventually some of that rubber is going to melt off. So this is pretty much what we're going through when we're dealing in the truth, but it's not always that way, but sometimes it feels that way. Okay. It says this is the term, or the Latin term, amargo. And the reason why I wanted to get this term, because it kind of plays into the lesson, because amargo or amerigo or America means a bitter, and this country, / corporation was a place where the Lord had set up for his people, the Israelites, to suffer their bitterness, because when you suffer in a punishment, the punishment is not usually something that's what's the word I'm looking for? That's joyous. That's why the Lord said, matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Just the book of Hebrews, 12th chapter, and the 11th verse. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So what we're going through right now is a chastening. And this chastening that we're going through is bitterness. So when it's happening to us, it doesn't feel joyous. It doesn't feel good. You don't feel like jumping up and down. Although the scriptures say when these things come upon you, take it joyfully. But that doesn't mean you're supposed to jump up in the air, kick your heels together and be like, yes, beautiful. Yes, I'm glad, because it doesn't feel that way. But we have to endure it. So that's part of of what it means to be joyous. In other words, take it, because it's only going to build you up to where you need to be. It says, but grievous, nevertheless, afterwards, meaning after you go through the chastening, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Because in order for you to gain experience, you have to go through things. The best teachers are the ones that have actually gone through the things that they're teaching, and not just saying what they say because they read it in a book or someone told them about it. They actually experienced the things that they're telling you about, and that's what makes a better teacher. So going back on Amargo, right, when you scroll through here, there was a point that I had wanted to get. I hope I can find it again. All right, here, etymology of the word amargo, from Old Portuguese amargo, from Vulgar Latin amaricus. That's where you get the word America from, amaricus. From Latin amarus, bitter. From Proto-Indo-European, blah, 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 bitter, raw. And that's the bitterness. And this truth is bitter. It gets bitter at times. You have the points where it's joyous, it's beautiful, it's good. You know about the kingdom. You know that the other nations are going to be under our feet, that we're going to have a good time in the kingdom. Many great, we're the people of the Lord. I mean, what could be more joyous than that? To finding out that you're the people of the Lord. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians are the Israelites, the people that are the closest to Yahawashi. But then again, in dealing with your everyday struggles and everyday life and situations, as far as trials and tribulations, that's when it gets bitter, because now you're in it, and in this truth, you have to be in it for the long haul, so to speak. All right, so that's where I wanted to get that, because amaricus also, like I said, means bitter, and this has been the bitterness of our captivity. And when you read throughout the scriptures and you read throughout the prophets always went through a lot of hardships, a lot of situations that they dealt with were very bitter, and they went through this bitterness for the sole purpose, really, of teaching the Heavenly Father's words. Prophesying against kings, prophesying against countries, prophesying against wicked Israelites. Telling them, to get themselves together. And they went through this bitterness because there was a great resentment from those wicked Israelites against these men. So Ezekiel 29 says, and when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. It says, and he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. So in this book, there's a lot of lamentations and mourning and woes written in there, and a part of it is the path to the kingdom. We're going to have to go through a lot of different perils, a lot of pitfalls, ups and downs, and all of that, and that would cement our way to get there. But the way to cement your way to get there is not always easy. If you go to the gym, right, and you're trying to build up a nice body, you want to get, chisel, you want to get the deltoids and the biceps and the triceps, and the six pack and the quads and all. You want to look good. There's a saying in the gym and or in different things is no pain, no gain. So in order for you to get the desired effect, you have to go through the struggle. You have to go through the pain. Those people that you see that's all chiseled up, they put themselves through a rigorous, very disciplined regimen to get to that point. You can't get to that point if you're in your mind, you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this chiseled body, but you're sitting back eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream, eating all kind of potato chips and, cakes and cookies and, ice cream and, and not showing any discipline. In order for you to get there, you got to show that discipline, and that discipline takes pain. And this truth takes pain, and the main pain that it takes is usually mentally, and this is a mental war that we're fighting in this truth, and it gets bitter. And that's why you have brothers that come into this thing, they endure for a little while, and then they leave because it gets too bitter. And a lot of times what brothers do, instead of just either praying to Yahawashi to give them the strength and the minerals to endure, and just, fight their way through it, or go on and keep teaching the truth, they give up. And what they do is they try to find excuses. Oh, well, this brother said this, so I don't agree with that, so I'm out of here. Or, I can't get along with this individual, so I'm going to leave, and I'm not going to, and then they try to find an excuse as to why they don't want to teach the word anymore, as to why they don't want to keep moving forward anymore. Instead of just knuckling down and just say, what, let me pray to Yahawashi. I'm in the hopes that I may be a part of the elect, and the Lord can put the spirit on me to where, okay, I'm not getting along with this brother, or I'm not getting along with that, or whatever the case is. So at least I could just keep on still teaching the word. Because at the end of the day, when you learn about this truth, you're responsible for this truth. You have a fulfillment. You have to fulfill your lot in this truth. We all do. We all have to fulfill our lot in this truth. And if we don't, there's a penalty for that. And the penalty for that is death, destruction. So let's go to Ezekiel 3:1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So that in the eating the roll means you have to what? Study it. So you have to eat it mentally, because the scriptures speak about that the Lord will give you pastors that will feed you with knowledge and understanding. So this truth is what you have to eat mentally to build up your mental muscle. You get your mind chiseled, as the song goes with Nas and Large Professor. Get your mind chiseled. In other words, get your weight up in your mind. Exercise that big fat muscle you have in your head. And build it up and eat it and nourish it. It says, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness, because this truth can be very sweet, especially when you first come in. It's a very sweet thing. You find out you're in Israel, you find out that the other nations are heathens, and you're like, oh yeah, that motherfucker, my boss, and this guy, and you find out, like, okay, well, I'm going to get vengeance. I'm going to exact vengeance on these people. So that's a sweet part of the knowledge. But after a while, it starts to get bitter because it seems like it's dragging on, and each day that goes by, each week that goes by, each month that goes by, so on and so forth, you feel that tension. Matter of fact, before I read on, let me see if I can find this other scripture. I think I have it in here somewhere. Right here. Ecclesiastes 1:16. I commune with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate. This is King Solomon speaking. And have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. So he was able to take in all of this information, because when you read, I believe it's First Kings, the 4th chapter, or second, I believe it's First Kings, the 4th chapter. It might be Second Kings. It says that King Solomon was more wise than all the kings of the East. So he had the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding above all, in that time period. But with that great knowledge, that great understanding, comes great bitterness also. It says, and I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of the spirit. Why? It's going to say it. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. So this knowledge can be sorrowful at times, although it's a great thing to learn and to know, because this knowledge is what's going to seal the elect to receive salvation. And that's a great thing. So going back to Ezekiel 3:3, it says, and he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. All right, so now let's go to Revelation 10:8. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be sweet. But it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. So that's the point. The point is that it's going to make your belly bitter, which is what? Your mind, not your stomach. Your actual stomach is talking about your mind. And we have for the word belly, pikraino, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, it says to make bitter, to produce a bitter taste in the stomach, to embitter, exasperate, render angry, indignant, because this truth can make you angry. That's why sometimes you see the apostles or elders or brothers lose it. That's that anger, that's that bitterness. Like the King David, when he was ran out of his kingdom, the older men were giving counsel and said not to mess with them, King David and them, because they were men that were chafed in the spirit. Because they were chafed in the spirit, because he was ran out of his kingdom, and he had to go into the wilderness where there was nothing there. You had to hunt for everything. You had to make sure that you took the right herbs and all that, so that you didn't get sick. So it was like he was, and then he was the weary of the mind. Causes you to be chafed, causes you to get aggravated, causes you to get angry. So this truth can get you to that point, but there's a balance in everything. And brothers have to learn how to be able to balance things out. There's times when you study, there's times when you do video, there's time when you might want to watch a movie. Nothing wrong with that. There's times when you might want to watch or listen to some music, or there's times when you might want to watch the news or listen to the news and look up certain articles to get information that you want. There's times that you might want to be with your woman. There's nothing wrong with that. You might want to take your woman out to a movie or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have to find the balance for yourself. what works for you. Some brothers don't need much. Other brothers might need a little more. But at the end of the day, you have to find the balance within yourself to be able to balance the truth out, because this truth can get overwhelming. It can get overwhelming, and the thing about us here at Great Millstone, we believe in giving you everything that's in the scriptures, not just okay, we're gonna go through the breakdown of Revelation 20 or Revelation 12 or Daniel 7 of Ezekiel the 38th chapter or Genesis the first chapter. We believe in giving it to you all, from the different scenarios of rape in the Bible to the mark of the beast being a microchip, to every other thing that's in the Bible that can be controversial that nobody wants to deal with. Also, things pertaining into character building things, because part of this truth is being able to build brothers up so that they can in turn build other brothers up. This is what these experiences that the Apostle Paul was going through, or Yahawashi first and foremost was going through. He said, what did he say? He said, learn of me, for my yoke is light. Why did he say that? So you can learn from him all he went through. We're gonna go through. It says to be embittered, irritated, and sometimes you're irritated. Some days you don't want to be bothered by nothing or nobody. You're just irritated that no matter if the person says the right or the wrong thing, you just don't want to be around anybody. You're irritated, and this truth gets you there, because you got to remember, we're in a world that's wicked, and in this wicked world, you trying to do the right thing, there's gonna be a clash. It said to visit with bitterness, to grieve, deal bitterly with. So let's go back. So it says, and I went unto the angel that said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. So, and I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. In other words, when he first put it into his mouth or in his mind, it was sweet. But then as soon as he had eaten it, or in other words, as soon as he digested it into his spirit, into his mind, it became bitter in his belly. Okay, and this is the thing about this truth. It can become very bitter, but there's a balance to everything. And the reason why it's like that is because we have to learn to go through the rough, because the times that are coming are going to be hard. And the best way to deal with it is just to deal with it now while there's nothing happening, going through the bitterness of the mind. And these are pretty much the training grounds, like you have a so-called, what's that called? Basic training. When you are training to go to war in the military, you're going through those training, and those trainings are not always easy, and the harder it is at the time you're complaining. But the harder that training is, the more you learn to appreciate when you find yourself in a messed up situation. Be like, damn, I'm glad I actually went through that, because now I see the benefit of all of that. At the time I was bitching and moaning about it, but now I see the benefit of it, because I'm able to breeze through this, as to where if I wouldn't have gone through what I went through, I wouldn't have been able to deal with this situation. So this is Job. There's a couple of scriptures in Job dealing with the word bitter. Job 3:20. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. My soul is weary. That's Job 17:11. This one is Job 7:11. This one's Job 10:1. My soul is weary of my life. I will leave my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. And sometimes you do that. Sometimes you might be in a gall of bitterness, but you still put yourself aside to be able to teach, to edify others, to build them up, because they might be going through something even worse than you're going through. And this is part of what Yahawashi spoke about, denying yourself. All right. So this is the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 6 and 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shall thou find wisdom to thine own old age. And wisdom is not always easy. You know, you got to remember that what we're dealing with a spirit, you know, and the spirit that's coming out of the book, you know, can take you through different scenarios, different situations, you know, and it's not always an easy path. It says, come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, because when you come unto this, then you've got to be ready to work. You know, you men out there that are Israelite men, you've got to be ready to work. You got to be ready to put your neck to the yoke, put your feet in the fetters, your hands in the fetters. You got to be ready to, in your mind, say, you know what? There's work that's got to be done. What is it that I got to do? You know, where's my position? What line do I hold? You know, it says, and wait for her good fruits, because when you labor, you get what? You get a reward, you get payment. And this truth, we're laboring. The Lord said that he's not ungrateful to forget our deeds in love. So there's a reward coming. You know, right now the reward comes in the form, you know, sometimes it comes monetarily if you're in a jam, you need it. You know, sometimes it comes in the form of brothers helping you out. But most times it comes spiritually, you know, through these spiritual gifts that are given. You know, whether it's the gift of prophecy, which is the greatest gift, you know, the ability, the gift of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, so on and so forth. It says, for thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon. Because the scriptures tell you, let's go from there to, what is that? I'm going to try Galatians. Let's try Galatians 6. Galatians 6 and 9. And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Because the scripture said you reap what you sow. If you sow in righteousness, you're not going to reap wickedness. There's going to be a point where the payment is going to show forth. It's going to show. You know, and we just got to, you know, trust in Yahawashi that is so, and it is so. So back to Ecclesiasticus 6 and 20, she is very unpleasant to the unlearned. So those that are not learned, that don't have the understanding or the mindset of, well, look, I'm in this truth. What does this truth entail? Okay, so in order for me to receive this truth, I got to do what? I got to catch hell, this, that, and the other. So you have to mentally prepare yourself, and of course through prayer, and the Lord will prepare you for that. Mentally prepare yourself. Okay, well, I'm going to catch hell, so I have to, in my mind, say, you know what? Let me get my mind frame or my mind state in the right frame of mind to where I know I'm going to catch hell. So let me put that into my mind. So when it does come my way, I don't look at it as a strange. Like a scripture say, you consider it not strange, the fiery trial, which is to try you, as if though some strange thing happened unto you. Because here in Ecclesiastes 2 and 1, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, because it's going to be a thing of constancy. You know, and this endurance of the truth is something that's constantly, you know, it's a day-to-day thing. Excuse me. That's why Yahawashi said, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. Because it's not a thing where you just endure a couple of things or for a little bit. No, it's an enduring to the end. It says, and make not haste in time of trouble. Why? Because when we're in trouble, we go what? To Yahawashi and pray to them to guide us and protect us and lead us. All right? Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end, because this truth is about increasing. This truth is about abounding. This truth is about moving forward, edifying. The word edify means to build. So that's what this truth is about building. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Now, we read in Hebrews that no chastening for the moment seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. But afterwards, it yielded the peaceable fruit of the peaceable fruit of can't remember the rest of it. The peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. All right. So it says, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So this is what you have to prepare your mind to, because that furnace of adversity is what's going to get us into the frame of mind that we need to be in, especially in this time where we're coming to. Isaiah 48:10. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. And that furnace of affliction sometimes gets hot, real hot. Sometimes you feel like you're going out of your skull, you're going out of your mind, you feel like you're going crazy, but this is all a part of the afflictions that we have to endure in order to get to that frame of mind that we need to be able to endure as a soldier in these times that are coming. So just keep in mind of that training that these military men go through, and the harder they train, the better equipped they are when they go to war. And we're being trained for this mental war that's coming, which is going to be physical, but if you can deal with it mentally, it'll help you deal with it physically, because it all begins in the mind. Isaiah 33:6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Not how many muscles you got on top of each other. It's the knowledge and wisdom that you receive and attain and keep in these times. And that's going to be the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is this treasure. So how are you going to pull out these treasures out of the vault of Yahawashi? By fearing the Lord. All right. It says back in 2nd Ezra 6, I'm sorry, Ecclesiastes, I don't know why I keep saying 2nd Ezra. Ecclesiastes 6:20. She is very pleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. And this is why guys leave and don't want to deal with this truth anymore, because it can get burdensome. And if you don't really have the understanding of what you're involved in, you're going to be like, why am I subjecting myself to this? Why am I allowing myself to go through all these hurdles and all this affliction? Because they don't have the hope. All they have is just, what? I can't deal with this anymore. I'm out of here. Salaki, brothers. Says she will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial. So if you're carrying a stone and that stone is heavy, after a while it's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And if you're not eating or drinking, constantly carrying this thing, what's going to happen? After a while, you got to let it go, in order for you to keep walking the walk. And some guys are like that because they're not being spiritually nourished, so that's why the truth becomes such a burden that they have to put it away. But instead of just putting it away, they have to find an excuse as to why they don't want to deal with it anymore. They don't want to say, well, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm going to blame it on the rain. No, because when all else fails, blame it on the rain. It's like an inside joke. Okay, it says, and he will cast it from him ere it be long. And that's what you see, certain individuals, they'll be strong. Then after a while you see them, you can see the spirit leaving them. You try to tell them certain things. Hey, bro, try to encourage them, pray for them, But after a while, you just see them losing the knowledge, losing the oil little by little, And then after a while, there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing any of us could do about it. It says, for wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many. And the thing that some brothers don't understand when they come into this thing is that we're really in a privileged position when we come into this knowledge to receive this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that not many people can or will receive. See, we're in a very privileged position, man. We're in a very honored, very blessed position to be able to have the top knowledge on the planet Earth that's going to either make or break an individual. It says, "Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel, and put thy feet into her fetters and thy neck into her chains." Why? Because in order for you to really deal with this truth, you have to go through a training or a disciplinary training. And that disciplinary training, when you have this wisdom is pure. So the world is going to separate itself from you. You know, your family members are going to separate themselves from you. Your woman is going to set your children, you know, your job, everything is going to separate themselves away from you, because you have this pure essence that's dwelling in your vessel, which is your body, our bodies. So it's dwelling in our bodies. So it's going to make anything that's not equal with it to avoid you. Just like you take two magnets and with what reverse polarity, I guess it's called, and you try to bring them together, what happens? They pull apart. And that's how the world is to this knowledge. It pulls away from the knowledge. So when we're carrying this knowledge in our vessels, it makes the world to get away from us. You see? And this is why you go through these things, because this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding is pure. It says, "Bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds." Come, see, it says, "Be not grieved with her bonds," because the bonds of truth, you got to remember, we're carrying purity. And purity is just pure, you know, and it can be a bond. You know, it'll have you in bondage because nobody else wants to deal with that. You know, so then you have to decide within yourself, you know what, do I want to deal with this? Can I deal with this? Or should I just put this away from me and just go and do what I got to do? Because this is too much. See, and this is what, we'll come back to this. This is what is meant by Luke here, Luke 14:25. "And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple," because you have to be able to deal with these different situations in order to be a disciple of Yahawashi. That's why Yahawashi told those people that they believed in him. He said, well, if you continue in my work, then are you indeed my disciple? He says, "For which of you intending to build a tower," and what's the tower? The tower is this truth, "sitteth not down first and counted the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it." You know, and this is something that a lot of individuals don't take account. They just see the glory of it. They just see the fame and how people are talking great things about this man and that man and the other, you know, and they want that, but they don't want to go through the rigorous training that it takes to get there. So they'll take what that man says, put it upon themselves, don't want to go through any of the steps to get there, but they just want the fame. So they'll take the knowledge from this one and from that one, go out there, start their own thing so people can laud and praise them, but really they're hollow because they really haven't gone through what it takes to go through in order to reach that level through the training that it takes to get there, because they got it from somebody else. It's just like you have, just for an example for you brothers to understand, like you have a great rapper out there and everybody's, oh man, this guy is great, but pretty much he's not writing none of his shit. He ain't go through none of the shit that he wrote about. He got a ghostwriter. And really the ghostwriter is the one that's really went through, has all the experience, and is the one that's writing all this stuff for him. But he's getting all the fame for it. But really inside, he's really empty. See? That's why the scriptures always speak about, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, because whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and rebuketh often. So you got to be willing to count the cost. You got to be ready to count the cost. So going back to Ecclesiastes 6:25, it says, bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds, because her bonds is what's making us better. It's purging us, even though it doesn't feel good. And trust and believe me, brothers, it don't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But it does make you a better man. It does build you up. It builds your character up. It builds our character up. It makes us better. It says, come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. Because this is a very, 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 very precious commodity to have, is the truth. The pure knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi. This is worth more than anything in weight, no matter what it is. Because this is what's going to give us peace of mind, and this is what's going to give us peace in the times when all hell breaks loose. And it's going to be such a beautiful thing to be able to be in a position of safety, in a position of peace, when the whole world is going to be in turmoil. And that's what the Lord said, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. For at the last thou shalt find her rest. See, because when everybody else is bugging out, you that have, through the spirit and power of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, that have subjected yourself, we that have subjected ourselves to this discipline, will reap the benefits when it counts, and will be at rest. And that shall be turned to thy joy. See? And that's going to be the real joy, man. To be able to have the world in chaos and anarchy, but we not being touched by any of that. Do you know how beautiful that is, man? It says, then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee, because you weren't offended by the rigorous training you had to go through. And those same fetters that were heavy unto you at one time will defend you, will defend us. And her chains a robe of glory, because it's going to be seen. That's why the scriptures say, and then shall be known who are my chosen. It's going to be evident, man, before this whole shithole goes down. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. Thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor, and shalt put her about thee as a crown of joy. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught, and if thou wilt apply thine mind, thou shalt be prudent. If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. So pretty much, the name of this, the title of this lesson is the bitterness, because the bitterness comes through the discipline. But the discipline, when it's not understood, becomes a burden. And that burden, when it's not understood, becomes a weight. And that weight, when it's not understood, becomes heavy. And after a while, it becomes too heavy to bear. And before you know it, the individual throws off the very thing that can save his soul. And this is why, man, we have to really understand what this truth is really all about and how precious this truth really is. And then that way, when we go through certain things, it's easier to bear because we have the understanding. And that's what the whole thing of experience is all about, to be tried out, and that gives you the minerals, so to speak, to be able to deal with whatever it is you have to deal with. All right. So with that, that's pretty much it. I think I hit all the precepts that I had, I think I hit all the precepts that I had, and, with that, you brothers, keep that in mind, keep enduring, just remember when you're going through these things, you're not the only ones. Look at all the great men in the past that have gone through everything, Yahawashi, the Apostle Paul, the apostles, and all the different prophets and great men of the Lord, as examples, like the scriptures say, lest you be weary and faint in your mind. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.